Hi, this is Jim Ramsey from Aletheia Counseling and Great Marriages. I'd like to talk just a moment about some of the needs that men and women have when they come into counseling. What's bugging them? I want you to know that I can relate to where you're coming from. I think the main thing I find in women is that they are really resentful. They're resentful because they don't feel like they get enough help from their husbands. Even though the man thinks he's doing a lot, it really, from her perspective, isn't very much to help with the kids, help with the housework, and so forth. And so there's a lot of resentment about him kind of doing his thing and not helping enough. Another thing that women are upset with is that the man isn't listening enough. He's not really tuned in and empathizing with her. He tends to just kind of give advice and kind of be short and not want to talk. And sometimes that feels really terrible to a woman. The other feeling is just feeling kind of used and abused. He's angry a lot. He doesn't seem to care about how I feel. He doesn't make me very important. In fact, for that matter, a lot of women feel like they're at the very bottom of a man's list. Other things are more important. Football's more important. Hunting's more important. Fishing's more important. All of these things are more important to him, it seems to her, than his relationship with her is. I think the woman feels like her husband is angry with her a lot. He's impatient. He doesn't have time for her. He's just kind of rude and short. And he feels controlling, kind of like everything's got to be on his terms. And so it's hard for her to feel very loving and responsive. The other thing that drives her nuts is a lot of times the guy's jealous and checking up on her too much and always monitoring what she's doing and where she's at. And she feels sometimes too that a husband is too passive, that he doesn't initiate things, he doesn't take charge, he doesn't lead the family, and that everything has to be started by her. She's the one that does everything, initiates everything. And so these are some of the feelings that women have when they go into counseling. On the other hand, I think men are frustrated because they feel like they can't please their wives. They feel like no matter what I do, it's always the wrong thing, the wrong time, the wrong way. I can't please her anymore. I can't seem to make her happy. And it's very frustrating because men love their wives and want to make them happy, but they feel like a failure. You know, I think sometimes they try to avoid conflict by not getting into certain subjects. And of course, the wife feels like, well, he won't really talk to me about how he feels. And yet he thinks, if I tell her how I feel, that'll really upset her. And so I try to get objective and get off my bad feelings and not talk about those things because it makes matters worse. And I think too that a lot of men feel really bad about the way their wives talk to them. It's like they kind of get off on us sometimes. And I think the thought goes through a lot of men's minds. You know, if a man told me what you just told me, I'd deck him. And yet, you know, we say, well, she's my wife and she's emotional and she's upset. And a lot of times we're more upset and hurt by what is said to us than our wives realize. And I think too that we're upset because it seems like our wife isn't as responsive physically and doesn't want to make love as much as she used to. And it seems like she just goes through the motion and she really doesn't want to be with me the way she did in the early years of our relationship. And then, of course, we're frustrated because it seems like our wives are so focused on the kids and focused on the house and all the work she has to do that she doesn't really want to recreate with me anymore. She doesn't want to be my girlfriend. She doesn't want to just goof off with me. And it feels like we always got something important we have to do and we can't just have fun together. You know, these are the kinds of feelings that a lot of men and women have in their marriages. So if you're having some of these thoughts and feelings, you don't need to feel bad about it. That's pretty typical. But in counseling, what we do is we try to understand where we're each coming from and why we feel the way we do and begin to change things up. You don't have to go through the rest of your marriage with these kinds of negative feelings. They can be changed, and that's what marriage counseling is all about.